Ooh, what's good, Commanders fans? Just wanted to talk about a couple articles and rumors that have been trying to, are basically just projecting us to make moves and stuff like that. This is what happens when you have a good team. The national media, beat reporters, they want you to trade for people and make moves and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna react to some of the articles that I've seen over the past couple of days, or I think some of these articles came out yesterday, and just give my thoughts on them. Some of the trade scenarios that they've given for these players, like Higgins, Jaycee Horn. Also, to bring up some news on the Ravens side, Marlon Humphrey was in a walking boot in practice today, per the Ravens media. So he may not even play. Like, their secondary is already one of the worst, or if not the worst secondary in the NFL right now. They are ranked dead last in passing yards allowed, or 31st or 32nd. They're definitely bottom five in passing yards allowed. And I definitely confidently feel. I feel like Jaden can throw the ball on any defense. Doesn't matter who it is. But this Ravens defense, they just gave up a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns to Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. And Joe Burrow's a great quarterback. Cincinnati has T. Higgins. They have Jamar Chase. They have great receivers. The guy, Andre Isevich, or whatever his name is, Jaycee. And then they gave up a lot of passing yards to, who else did they play? Devontae Adams and the Raiders. They beat them in Baltimore. And then they gave up, Kansas City, they gave up a good amount of passing yards in that game too. And then who else have the Ravens played so far? But they've given up a crazy amount of passing yards. Like I said, they're ranked dead last in passing yards allowed. And Marlon Humphrey, who I think we can cook him anyway with Terry McLaurin and the guys that we got. But their backups are going to have to play now. And I think it's going to be even tougher, or give us even more of an advantage against the Ravens. We're a run-first team. Now, what I will say about the Ravens, I don't want to get too much into it because it will turn into basically a preview video, but everybody's excited about this game. Like, I get on social media and it's like a freaking Super Bowl game almost, where fans are already starting to go back and forth with each other. Ravens fans and Commanders fans, kind of like we did in the preseason a couple years ago when we beat them in the preseason. And just the whole Lamar versus Jaden, or Jaden versus Lamar thing. Everybody's hyping this game up. But yeah, Dallas, they had a bunch of passing yards because, they were beating Dallas by a lot. And then the Bengals, they gave up a bunch of passing yards. And then Gardner Minshew and Devontae Adams, they let him go off in that game that they lost. That was an upset loss right there. But it is what it is on that. But they gave up a lot of passing yards in that game. Like, Devontae Adams had a really good game. Against the Ravens. And I think Terry will have a good game. And I think our other guys can definitely step up and have good games, like Luke, Diami, and other guys. We're a wide receiver by committee other than Terry. Yeah, Gardner Minshew had 276 yards, 30 for 38, one touchdown, one pick. Gardner Minshew have a day. He had a day against the Ravens defense. Devontae Adams had 9 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. Brock Bowers had 9 catches and 98 yards against the Ravens. So I really feel like we can do the same thing to the Ravens. I think we can do the same thing, if not even better than that. So that's just my take right there. Like I said, Marlon Humphrey, just keep an eye on that. Like I said, if he does not play, looking at the Ravens depth chart, they just don't have a lot of guys. They don't have they lost Geno Stone from last year. And they don't have the same defensive coordinator that they had last year in Mike McDonald. So they're not that same defense. They're just not that same defense. They're just not that. They are not those guys anymore. They're not those guys. Yeah, Kyle Hamilton, who's really good. Marcus Williams, who's good. But the other corner is Brandon Stevens and TJ Tampa, guys like that. Like Nate Wiggins is a rookie, so I think we're gonna have our way through the year, but we gotta establish a run game like we always do, which I don't think we will have a problem. But it is gonna be tougher because they are good at stopping the run. The Ravens defense is really, really good at stopping the run for sure. That's one thing I definitely will give the Ravens credit for. But all right, let's get to what I want to make this video about. So ESPN Plus, they came up with an article. I'll talk about T. Higgins first. This is the trade scenario that they came out with. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins goes to the Commanders. The Bengals get a 2025 third-round pick, a 2026 third-round pick with conditions on production. One of the biggest, and the article goes on to say, one of the biggest sellers at last year's deadline should be one of the most aggressive buyers at this year's deadline, with rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels looking like the real deal. The Commanders can now aggressively spend to build a contending team and maximize his rookie contract window. Higgins is awesome on those vertical one-on-ones that are a huge part of Daniels' game and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury's offense, and he brings a size dimension that's currently lacking on the Commanders' receiving corps. And critically, the Commanders have the cap space to pay Higgins the enormous contract he's absolutely due. Getting Higgins gives them the certainty that their wide receiver room is ready to sustain a playoff run instead of spending early on a rookie and hoping they hit while Daniels is still young and cheap. So I do agree with some of that. I do think we do need to, in the off season. I don't know about now spending a draft pick because you have to trade 2 third-round picks for T. Higgins when he's going to become a free agent. He's on the franchise tag right now. He's disgruntled or whatever. He wants to leave, wants to get paid big bucks. We do have the money to spend. I do agree with that. We do have to capitalize on Jaden's rookie contract before 2 or 3 years from now, and he's going to demand a big contract like we saw the rookie quarterbacks get. Even Trevor Lawrence got a big deal. Quarterbacks, I mean, the money's going to go for Jayden. He might even, he's on pace. Like, I hate to get too far ahead of myself, but the point is, this is the time to be aggressive and get things done. Now, we do have 2 third-round picks. We have the Jahan Dotson third. So it's like if you do trade the 2 thirds, at least you have one that you still have for this year, but you wouldn't have the 3rd-round pick for next year. T. Higgins is a dog. We all know that. He just had 2 touchdowns against the Ravens on Sunday. The team we're about to play had nine catches for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. We actually kept T. Higgins in check for the most part, but that was his first game back from injury and whatnot. But T. Higgins, you look at the numbers that he's put up over the years, and he's 6'4". I didn't know he was that tall. He didn't look that tall on TV when I watched him on Monday or when I've seen him play, but I didn't know he was 6'4". So he would add size. He's always been a number 2. He had 1,000 yards in 2022, 1,000 yards in 2021, and that's being a number 2 guy. He would be a number 2 guy here to me, in my opinion. He would be a 1A, 1B with Terry. And like I said, I don't even get to the number 1 talk with Terry anymore anyway. I believe Terry's a number 1. T. Higgins, he could be a number 1 somewhere else too. I think he's that talented. And Jayden having Terry and T. Higgins, it would kind of be like how LSU had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. It would be pretty nasty like that. But I do like what we have right now. Just personally, I don't know if I would pull the trigger on a wide receiver at this point because Diambi's playing well, Luke is playing well, Noah's playing well, Alamade's playing well. Like I said, this wide receiver by committee thing is working. Now, when we do play some more playoff perennial teams like the Ravens, we'll see, can this offense keep up, which I think it will, of course, because Jayden's just a good quarterback. The quarterback makes guys better, and the quarterback right now, Jayden Daniels, is making guys better. He's making Luke better. He's making guys better. Zach Ertz, all these guys, Eckler, he's making guys better. Cliff as well is helping him out too. But like I said, I would wait until the offseason. There's a couple free agents that are going to be available, like Chris Godwin, Christian Kirk. Other guys are going to be available via free agency in the offseason where you might want to look at, like I said, T. Higgins is included in that group too. If they just let him walk as a free agent, then I say, hey, you just go ahead and do some. I would just sign him as a free agent instead of trading the draft capital. But if Adam Peters believes, let's say by the time we get to the Giants game in November 3rd or November 5th, whenever the trade deadline is, and he really wants to pull the trigger, then I'm not against it. And T. Higgins is young too. It's not like Devontae Adams or Keenan Allen or anybody like that. T. Higgins is 25 years old, so he's still entering his prime. I still think he's a lot left in the tank, of course, and he fits the trajectory with this team and with Jayden Daniels as well, former 2nd-round pick out of Clemson. So I would not trade for T. Higgins at this point, but like I said, if Adam Peters thinks about it in a couple weeks and feels like doing it, then I'm not against it at all. Now, let's transition to and we already have the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. So it's kind of like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Chemistry is kind of more important to me rather than big names and talented players at this point. And like I said, not saying that Diambi's not talented or Luke's not talented or Alameda or whatever. Of course, they haven't put up the production that T. Higgins has, but I just think right now the chemistry that we have right now, the ego-less guys that we have in the locker room kind of is more important than bringing in more talent at this point, because I think the guys, the ingredients that we have right now is working. Eckler's like another receiver out there. B-Rob can catch out of the backfield too. Ertz is a good receiver, tight end or whatever. So I just don't think it's necessary. And the more necessary thing that another article from CBS Sports, this was written by, who wrote this article? Cody Benjamin wrote this article. He also said that we should trade for Jonathan Mingo. I disagree with that. And he wrote an article saying that we should trade for Jaycee Horn. I actually kind of agree with that one more than the T. Higgins one. But getting T. Higgins, I wouldn't mind that in the offseason. He says the Commanders should acquire cornerback Jaycee Horn from the Carolina Panthers. Commanders executive Scott Fitterer drafted Jaycee Horn early in Carolina. The Panthers like him, but he'll likely command top dollar despite a checkered medical history. This splash would aid Washington's secondary. Now, looking at his injury history, I wouldn't give up anything more than really a 5th or a 4th. I know they were probably 1 3rd or something like that, but I wouldn't give up anything more than like a 4th because he's been injured so much. He's so talented though. He's a dog. He's super physical. Of course, he has the lineage from his dad and whatnot playing in the NFL. But his rookie season, he played 3 games. Sophomore season, 13 games. 2023 played 6 games. So the injury history is just a little too long for me. But we certainly need corner help. We need corner help a lot more than we need wide receiver help. And then honestly, at this point, the corners are improving each week. Now we still need to add, but the defense is getting better, and I think the chemistry is getting better, and the communication is getting better with our secondary as well. Noah I's playing better. Ben St. Juste is playing better. Guys are stepping up and playing better. But you look at Jaycee Horn, he had 3 picks in 2022. We talk about ball his life and taking the ball away. He certainly has done that. He also had 7 pass deflections in 2022 as well. That's really the only season you really clearly just judge him off, because he's only played 13 games at the most. In the other seasons, he's only played 6 games at the most. So he just doesn't play enough. There's just not enough sample size from him. But you look at the completion percentage allowed in 2022, 55%. He's a superb athlete, had a heck of a raw score, 62.4 quarterback rating allowed, which is really darn good. Heck of a tackler too, very physical, would bring some physicality, some toughness. He tackles, only had a 6% missed tackle rate in 2023. I mean, the guy's a dog. He's kind of up and down this year. He had a really good game against Devontae Adams as well, who's clearly one of the best receivers in the league. And the Panthers won that game, and Jaycee Horn did a really good job for the most part on Devontae Adams. Now, he has given up a couple touchdowns this year. He gave up a touchdown to Quentin Johnson for the Chargers, so he's had an up and down year. You look at some of the PFF metrics and numbers for Jaycee Horn right now. In 2023, he had an 84 overall grade and an 83 coverage grade. Right now, he has a 65.5 coverage grade this year. So he's kind of having an up and down. He got ejected last game, some frustration. They were getting beat on pretty bad. And they've had a rough season until Andy Dalton came in. But, I mean, he's a good corner. He would be the best corner on this team between him and Ben St. Juste. I mean, he's more talented. He has more upside and more potential for sure being in his 3rd year. I do want to look at his raw score because the guy is an athlete and a half. He really is. I think he ran like a 4.3 40-yard dash coming out of college. Yeah, he ran a 4.4 40-yard dash. He had a 9.99 relative athletic score. And the vertical leap was a 41.5-inch vertical leap, which is just insane. Like I said, you can windmill a basketball, about 6 feet, 205 pounds. Did the bench 19 times. And also, he was ranked 2nd out of 1,790 cornerbacks from 1987 to 2021 for his relative athletic score. I mean, that's how athletic Jaycee Horn is. I mean, that's just ridiculous athleticism by Jaycee Horn. So he would make this team better. He would bring a lot of physicality and toughness to this team as well. You look at the combine, he was 2nd in the total athletic score in the combine back in 2020. And also Jason Simmons, the pass game coordinator, was there with him in the Panthers. Jeremy Chin was there, Frankie Louvu. So he already has some familiarity with a couple guys on the team. So I think he would fit the chemistry. I don't think he would ruffle any feathers or anything like that. I think he would come in and fit really well because we do need cornerback help. And right now, Emmanuel Forbes looks like he's kind of being phased out of the defensive rotation. And he only had 4 snaps. So he could make up for that spot on the roster. I'm not saying you're going to cut Emmanuel Forbes, but he definitely would be there for sure. He can be a little handsy and grabby at times, but he has sticky coverage, man. And he talks a lot of trash, which I like, from Jaycee Horn out of South Carolina. Very physical, very, very physical receiver. Press punch is well timed. Looking at the write-up on him. Confident and patient, squaring up release. Slides and mirrors and impending the route beyond the release. And this defense is only getting better. So if we add talent to the defense, man, this defense we're moving up defensively. Like, I think we're top 15 now in some defensive metrics where we were like bottom 10 in every defensive stat you can find, like bottom 5 and everything. We're actually getting better each week, and we're pressuring the quarterback. So Jaycee Horn, I would throw a 4th. I wouldn't throw a 3rd or anything like that. I wouldn't throw any of our 3rds at Jaycee Horn at this point. I would throw like a 4th or a 5th. I know the 5th, they probably hang up the phone, but the 4th round pick is something I would think about for Jaycee Horn. But you guys, let me know what you guys think. If any of these things will come true. Like I said, both things probably, if I had to bet, both of these things probably won't happen, but you just never know. I think T. Higgins might happen in the offseason, but Jaycee Horn, like I say, we'll revisit at the beginning of November and see where we're at and see if they are going to be aggressive and make trades. So, all right, you guys, as always, Health Commanders, peace.